So Nathan, there's a magazine based out of Japan called Best Car Magazine, and this magazine has a really good track record of predicting future upcoming Toyota models. So they got the Prius basically right on, they got the GR Corolla way ahead of time, and they have some interesting predictions based on the new Mini Land Cruiser, FJ Mini Land Cruiser, whatever you want to call it. So let's talk about some of their predictions. They're saying about the size of a Corolla Cross. It's supposed to be the cheapest Land Cruiser, which kind of makes sense.
That makes a little sense.
Right? Now, originally the concept was shown as a battery electric vehicle, the compact cruiser. But these folks are saying there's potentially also going to be a gasoline version, maybe the 2.7 2TRFE, which was the old 2.7 from the old Tacoma.
Yeah, surprisingly, it comes back again.
So if that's true, that would be surprising. They're also saying there could be a hybrid version, but it's delayed from the start. And they're saying production potentially as early as November. Listen, I love classic cars like this 1968 Mustang, but I don't love how I can't charge my phone or play my music, which is why I present to you today, sponsored the Duracell M150 Portable Charging Hub. I can use this to keep my phone charged and keep the tunes playing. The Duracell M150 can also save your camping adventure. So right now I'm using this portable unit to power the lights in this rooftop tent and charge an iPad so those movies never stop, and charge a phone all at the same time. But the best part is it's small enough and portable enough where you can just store it in one of these little cubbies. One of the more difficult parts of this job is we're often out in the boonies and we need to keep our cameras charged. And check this out with these 4 outputs. I'm currently charging 2 GoPros, a main camera, a drone, and my phone all at the same time. And this 91 watt-hour battery in this Duracell will make sure everything stays charged. Click the link in the description and get powered up anywhere, anytime with the Duracell Portable Charging Hub M150. Whether you want to update your vehicle's tech or power up your car camping adventures, the Duracell M150 is the perfect addition to your ride. So what do you think of some of these predictions, Nathan? Do you think they could be right on?
I think that given their track record, it's entirely possible. I think they may actually have some inside sources, which certain other magazines do from time to time. But in addition, it's interesting because we're talking about a vehicle that will be actually a little bit bigger than your standard key car or K car, depending on how you pronounce it.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be close in size, this is my prediction, to the Suzuki Jimny, basically the modern Samurai, but perhaps a little bit longer, just a hair longer. That's just kind of my take on it.
Yeah, interesting. No, I think you're right. I don't think they can do it as small as like a K-car, Jimny kind of Samurai thing. I think it has to be maybe like RAV4 size, but with actual off-road cred.
Yep.
And then it's got to be significantly more affordable than the current Land Cruiser. So that current Land Cruiser was $80 for the 200 series. Now this new 250 Prado we're getting is like $56, $55 starting. So where do you think a mini Land Cruiser?
I think $35,000 will be the absolute base model, and $40,000 will be the realistic price.
Now, if this thing does happen, Nathan, do you think it would be like body on frame? Do you think it would be unibody?
Yes.
Unibody?
Yes. In fact, look at it this way. They have to get a return on their investment, so it would be a lot less expensive for them not to develop a specific frame just for one vehicle. So they can't, I don't think they can use the bigger frames that they're using currently on basically everything that exists. So the Land Cruiser, the 4Runner, the Taco, all those vehicles use a very similar platform. I don't think they can shrink that down to a tiny one. So I think that they're going to stick with a unit body design, which is fine because there's an awful lot of off-roaders that use that. Yeah, maybe the size of a Toyota Corolla Cross, but I don't think they're going to use the particular TNGA platform that they're using there.
Now, the interesting thing about this to me, Nathan, is that these folks in Japan are predicting that it's going to have a gasoline version, where initially it was launched as shown as a battery electric only. You know, I think that could be a potential. Now, I think in the States it would come as a standard hybrid, because every new Toyota they're launching is a standard hybrid. Yeah. But I think Toyota's figuring out that there's a really big demand for hybridization and a relatively smaller demand from their customer base for full electrification. So I could definitely see that being the case. Maybe you have like that 2.5 naturally aspirated hybrid system like you find in a RAV4 powering maybe a rear-wheel drive based architecture with this this smaller Land Cruiser.
It's possible, but you know what another possibility could be?
What?
Is that they take a beefier version of what's currently available in your Prius, they actually have an all-wheel drive version of the Prius, right? Mm-hmm. So what if they were to beef up that version and make it something that can actually handle some off-roading? I mean, having an electric rear axle doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. You get a lot of torque out of it, but it does add weight. So the question is, how would they package that? There's a lot of questions, obviously, that need answers, but we are pretty damn sure we're going to be seeing something from Toyota in the near future.
Yeah, really would be cool if we saw this before the end of the year. I mean, I'd love it if we could see it revealed summer, fall kind of time frame. But I'm really excited about the potential of this. You know, Toyota's jumping with both feet in the off-road world with the GX and the Land Cruiser and the new 4Runner and Tacoma. I mean, it's just going crazy over at Toyota. But better get used to them because we're going to see them on the road for the next 30 years. Now, Nathan, the next piece of news, which is really cool, is Mitsubishi just announced their Momentum 2030, which was a discussion of the future of Mitsubishi. And there was a lot of talk about electrification and you know, the move forward. And it was a lot of kind of high-ranking, you know, top-level discussions. But what's the cool news that came out of Momentum 2030?
Well, for one thing, yes, Mitsubishi still sells vehicles in the United States, for those of you who didn't know, because let's face it, their footprint is very small here. In fact, I believe in terms of a major manufacturer, they're one of the smallest ones here in terms of production, how many vehicles they sell. However, they have been pushing quite an agenda for 2030, and that may include, and this is coming from the top down, by the way, the Delica, which is a van that can off-road, but it's much, much, much more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a plug-in hybrid, possibly. This is technology that Mitsubishi is already working on. There are other vehicles, by the way, that they are playing with as well that, you know, for instance, the Outlander, supposedly there'll be a more off-road capable version of the Outlander that may be coming out, a PHEV. But that same technology updated in 2030, by the way, working with Nissan with that technology as well, they may be bringing a version of the DX, I believe it is. Concept, which I think you saw at the Tokyo Auto Show.
Yeah.
They may be bringing it here, and it looks awesome.
It's like the super moonlandy off-road van. Now, the Delica, if you don't know, is a proper four-wheel drive van sold in other markets. We've done a couple videos of imported ones, and they did sell it briefly in the U.S.
I actually drove one of those.
Really? It's been out since like 1990, though, or I should say, it's been gone since 1990 from the U.S.
Yeah, it was from like 87 to 1990. It was just a few years that it was sold here, and it was just called, it was either a van or a wagon. If it had passenger seats, it was called the wagon, or it was called the van. It had like 107 horsepower, four-cylinder engine.
Oh, wow.
And it really wasn't the off-road brute that you know from overseas, which usually was a turbo diesel and essentially on top of a Prado or what is it?
Montero,
I should know
Pajero,
this.
yeah.
Pajero, sorry, not Prado. Platform. That was a serious off-roader, and they built those for years and years. Initially, by the way, the Delica was built way back in the late 60s, and they started doing four-wheel drive vans in the 70s, so they were way on top of it for small vans.
Yeah, I mean, I am stoked about this idea, right? The Delicas have a huge following overseas because they are, like you said, Nathan, a Pajero, which is body on frame, low range, crazy capability, with a big top on bolted on top of it, so you can bring your family and your camping gear and all your stuff to the really exotic locations. Now, Mitsubishi is saying officially that, you know, what does it say here? New or completely refreshed vehicle to debut each year between fiscal 2026 and fiscal 2030. So we're talking the next 5 or 6 years, we're going to see a bunch of new vehicles. In the US, will nearly double from today's 4 vehicles. So clearly we have some new exciting vehicles coming, along with, based on this teaser image, what looks like some more off-roady SUVs. I mean, Mitsubishi used to have such a long history of four-wheel drives in the US, right, Nathan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Montero alone was one of the world-leading vehicles when it came to off-road racing. It still, I believe, holds the title of the most Dakar wins. I think it was 12. And they built some fantastic all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive systems. You can look at everything from their sports cars all the way up to their off-roaders. and then that all just changed.
Yeah. So the Outlander is actually a good car, especially the plug-in hybrid.
I think it's impressive, yes.
But there isn't that same enthusiasm around the brand that there once was. But a Delica back to the U.S. with a true chunky set of tires and real capability, I think could bring a lot of excitement back to the brand.
Indeed. Now, by the way, a couple quick details about this Delica. This is the concept, but the entire front end of it is essentially a projection of what you would be seeing in front of the vehicle. So it's like a see-through front end of the vehicle, right? So as you're driving along, you would have a projection of what the front wheels are doing, similar to what they did with Range Rover, but you're actually looking through this display, and it's like looking through glass to the front end of the vehicle. Now, granted, that is for the concept. However, it is still, 3 rows seating. It is still a proper van. So hopefully something that cool looking comes here, because I think it's just fantastic to look at.
Yeah, and it did have some good set of tires on it. And the Delica, they actually they rally it and they race it in Japan. The current one is very neat. So it's a lot of capability, and hopefully they do it right for the U.S. market. Come on, Mitsubishi, do something for us enthusiasts.
I know, finally, bring something back so we can have some fun.
All right, folks. Well, let us know what you think in the comment section below. We'd love to hear input. And as always, this has been Tommy.
And Nathan.
Head over to alltfl.com if you want the latest and greatest in upcoming off-roader news.